Hey friends, today I am turning a poster, the one that I have behind me here, into a custom holiday or Christmas poster that I'm going to then turn into Christmas cards. Thanks to Adobe Express for sponsoring this video. And right now, if you use the print option inside of Adobe Express, you can get 50% off. Let's dive in and get designing. Now I am going to be turning an existing poster into a Christmas poster, but if you're starting and don't have an existing design, you can come into Adobe Express, click on the quick start option up here, and then you can type in here poster, select poster, and then start browsing all of the templates and then start searching for something that you might want to have your poster about. For myself, it might be like this Christmas poster here. You can search Christmas and it's got all of these existing templates here that you can then start to modify yourself and start taking maybe elements from those and putting them into your own design. But for myself, we're going to get started with this poster right here. Now, I'm not a fancy designer or anything else like that, which is partly why I personally like starting from templates. My friend designed this for me and she is a brand designer, and what I wanted to do is kind of like, what can I do to this poster to make it a little bit more Christmassy? So what I did is I loaded it up into a Firefly, Adobe Firefly. If you've not used that, I've done a few videos on Adobe Firefly and I'll link those down in the description below. But what I did is I loaded in my poster here, and then I said to the prompt, I said, make this poster more festive. And I'd selected this poster and it's given me this as an option. Now, this was kind of like a good starting point. I then asked it to do some other options, and it gave me all these other options that I could do, and I ended up choosing this particular option here. I really like this option. I'm not just going to throw this into Adobe Express and then print that out. What I want to do is use the elements inside of Adobe Express to kind of like recreate this in my own style and in my own way. So we're going to come back to Adobe Express, and this is my original design. So I'm just going to click on duplicate that one. And then I've also loaded in this as my design, and we're going to copy that over into my design here. So we can start copying the colors and using the color picker from this design into the actual poster that we've got here. Now, the first thing to do is to actually copy over the color for the Be Awesome, Be Creative, Be You. So we're going to come down to the side here, select on Be Awesome, and then in the panel at the side, we're going to click and select the text color, and then we can use the eyedropper to then pick this red, and that's going to change that for us. We're going to choose to then do the others. We can then choose to change the background color, doing the same method, and we can then just pick and choose our background color, and we can see that this is now starting to take shape. But what we need is we need to add in this little Santa hat, and we've got some lights and some holly that I want to add in there and kind of like move those around. So let's do that. So we're going to come up to the add content, and we're going to come over to the elements option, and in here we're going to search for things like holly, and we can search in our design assets. Now I have some that I've chosen, and the one that I liked, I think it was this one. We can then just choose and add this into our design, adding them into the corners, duplicating those, and then spinning them to add them into our design. Now, a couple of other things that I want to add in there are the lights. So again, we're going to come over to the elements option here, and we're going to come over and find our lights. And we can see we've got all sorts of different options here that we can add to our designs. I like these ones here, so we're going to add those into our design and then duplicate those and move them around. We've got some lights down here that I kind of like want to replicate as well. So we're going to just duplicate that, turn this and spin this around to kind of like add that festive feeling, that there are lights up there and there's some parcels that we want to add in there, and also some baubles. Now, instead of sitting here and watching me just kind of add everything to the design, I've come up and I've finished this design off. What we did is we moved the holly around a little bit. We've got our snowflakes and we've got our lights. I've also added in here some baubles that we had in the design, and we added in the little Santa hat decks, and now this is already now looking brilliant and ready to get sent to print. Now, before we send this to print and have this design printed, we're going to come up to our file option here, and we're going to come down to bleed and margins and make sure that those bleeds and margins are shown, because we need to have those on for when it sends to print, because that's something that they use their side to make sure that there is extra that can be kind of like trimmed if need be, and allows that. And you can see if we zoom in here, making sure that we've got all of the elements on the page that we need to have on the page, and they're all, you know, there's a lot of enough space and margins. And I would also say to make sure that when you are having text, make sure there's a little bit of space either side, because sometimes when it sends it over, it can kind of like smush that up. But make sure you've got the space on there. And then once you've done that and made sure that your design is good, you can choose to download a version of it in PDF, best for printing. And then what you'll want to do is make sure you add on there the crop marks and show bleed. And then when you download that, that's going to be what actually gets sent over to Zazzle, who is the partner integration inside of Adobe Express. And then once we're happy with our download, we can then just click on order prints. And you can see here we've got 50% off until the 15th of January. So if it's not something you want to do for the holidays, maybe it's something you're wanting to do for the new year, you can get your designs in now and get them printed in plenty of time for the new year as well. If you've enjoyed this, click like and subscribe down below. And until next time, thank you very much and bye for now.